Yo, 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 what's going on with y'all? It's your boy Convo and Marlo. You know what I'm saying? Today I got a special guest here with me today. Who do I have the pleasure being here with?
My name is Danny Martinello.
Danny. What's going on? What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Just chilling, enjoying my time here, and just that's all. That's really going on today.
How do you say it? Martinello?
Martinello.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
Italian.
but I went to Italy and they said I butchered my name completely.
So how do they say it over there?
Martinello. But I'm like, I don't really. I'm Canadian, man. I don't really give a fuck.
You see, soon as I hear that name, I'm like, this is an Italian man for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I always say like I'm half Italian, quarter French, quarter Irish, but 100% Albertan. So
okay. How true is it with the whole Italian world? Like let's say you're making pasta.
Yeah.
Like I've seen videos where a lady's making pasta. She's whitewashed. She breaks it.
Oh, you can't do that.
Why? What's wrong with breaking
it's just,
it?
You gotta have a nice long noodle. I don't know. It's like sacrilege. It's like cooking. Cooking. What can I say? Cooking meat with no spice. You're like, what's going on here?
So what would happen? Let's say I'm in the kitchen. You're right along beside me. You give me the pasta and I break it in half.
I just
Are we restarting?
I'd shake my head. And I'd lose respect.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what I do. A little bit of me would be like, yeah, man, he's never going to make it full.
Okay. Is that serious in the Italian world?
I guess so. I don't know. It's just kind of like a little like faux pas.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you got to break it to put it in your bowl, whatever, as long as you're eating pasta, I find that's fun.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as like serving up a dish with ragu sauce and being like, here you go, I made it myself.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Man, I got to ask you, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, I'm going to get more into all these questions that I got here for you, but the big transition, like, I'm going to ask more about yourself, but that big transition going from New York to here, or like coming back from New York to here, you know what I'm saying? Like, the weather-wise.
It's not like a bad, I always expected. It's nice to, like, come back to snow and stuff for me. I feel like it's
I've never heard anyone say it. That's
yeah,
the
it's
first
like,
time.
Don't get me wrong. I want to have snow for probably, like, 4 weeks of my entire life, like, out of the year. But I like coming back here. Kind of, like, grounds me and gets me, like, oh, okay, like I'm home now, you know what I mean? Like I feel like if you live without snow in like December or like late November, there's something off, It's a little bit tilted.
Yeah, I guess
tilted. Sorry.
Same with me. I'm so used to having snow around this time where if I was to go anywhere else and there isn't snow on the ground, I'd be thrown off.
Yeah.
Like what's going on here?
Oh yeah, like there's like I don't know, but I'm like. I like it, You come in, you're landing on the plane, you see like the tarmac covered in snow, you're flying in, you kind of see all the shitty weather, and you gear yourself up, being like, "Oh yeah, okay, here we go, we're cold." But in a aspect where it's like it's not like Ontario or like East Coast weather where it's like humid, so it's
not as bad.
Yeah, it's bearable. You kind of just cover up your skin, and any exposed piece of flesh for like 10 minutes is death. So you kind of like, all right.
Literally, unlike here, where no matter which way you look to avoid the wind, you're feeling it.
Oh yeah,
this shit will damn near ruin your day.
Oh yeah, man, it's nice. I've had to moisturize and everything now, and so it's. Yeah, you're back.
Sheesh. Okay, now, you told us who you are. Where are you from? I'm
from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Born and raised.
Holy.
Yeah. What side of the city?
North side, baby.
What junior high school did you go to?
A junior high school, I went to Hardesty, just right across the river, like the Capilano Gold Bar area. And then I got asked to leave in grade 9, so I finished my junior high at the New Directions over on 118th.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Asked to leave?
Yeah, asked to leave.
You been a bad kid or what?
I was like a bit of a bad kid, but the camel that broke the straw's back, or straw that broke the camel's back. There's my dyslexia for you. I was just divvying up like a quarter of weed in social studies class, and my vice principal walked past and saw me.
No
way. Oh yeah, dead eye view right across. Looked at me. I'm just putting a couple grams in one bag, couple grams in another bag, and she's
maybe because you didn't give it to him, you didn't offer.
Oh no, she was like on my ass for a good like while, trying to get me out for a couple grades, and then that was just it. Where it was like, all right, this kid's he's got marijuana in class right now, so
that was it for you.
Yeah, that was the one, and then didn't have a grade 9 grad, and
damn.
Yeah, but that was like good for me though, because when I went and saw the kind of kids that I would have been classified as with, I was like, oh, these are actually troubled youth. Like I'm just dicking around, telling jokes, like cracking up, being a wise class clown.
Yeah.
Like kind of dabbling in the idiocies of, youthful angst and being like a hard guy, being like, yeah, you know what I mean, listening to the Young Jeezy album at the beginning and just being like,
I could
Young
sell Jeezy.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I could sell drugs, and you're like,
what year is this?
What, probably 2004?
Golly.
Yeah, what was the one album before Thug Motivation 101? Was it Trap or Die? It was like a 2-disc album. Was that? I don't know, something like that.
And that's early 2000s.
Yeah, it was early 2000s, and then with the Dem franchise boys, you remember those guys? In my white tee. In my white tee.
No, so that was your time. That was your decade.
I guess so. Like, that was the kind of stuff I started getting into a little bit. But, like, you're just like a kid listening to rap albums, and then you're, like, becoming, 15, 14, and you're like, all right, I can be hard as fuck. And then you're like, who are you? You know, you're just a little kid from Edmonton. Like, relax.
Okay. What about high school? What high school did you go to?
High school, I went to East Glen.
East Glen, that fighting ass school. Everybody's always fighting over there.
Oh, yeah. But that was when I kind of started to like taper off a little bit. Like, I would see like the trouble and like all the kind of stuff, and like the kids where I saw like their trajectory or whatever, and I was like, okay, you know, like I should probably shape up at this point. And then so I let all the kids be like, you know, do all that, and that's when I found kind of theater, and so I was like, I prefer theater instead of getting in trouble and shit.
When you say theater, like more into acting?
Yeah, like like theater class, like drama class, and then doing like productions and stuff like that, of like plays and everything. Yeah.
So is that when all that kind of started coming in for you, like around high school days?
That's when I took it like super serious. Like, I always was in like community theater or like church plays and stuff like that, like the Sunday school plays, and then like drama class in junior high school and stuff like that. And kind of I grew up in like a fine arts kind of community or like family kind of stuff. So like my elementary school, the first one I went to was like a fine arts program and stuff. So yeah, I taught a lot of like choir, music, arts, and like stage and craft.
You see, I mean, when I was in high school, I want to say maybe grade 11, I gave what was it called? Theater. I don't remember what the class exactly was called, but I gave that same type of thing a try, where we'd come up in groups and present in front of the whole class, act it out, do this and that, and I saw that I had a liking for it, but then I let my friends get into my head. They would clown me like, yo, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
getting for Zed type of thing, and I'm just like, I let these guys get to my head, and I never continued it.
Oh yeah.
Now it makes me think like, how far could I have gone if I took it serious?
Oh
if
yeah.
I ignored these guys.
Yeah, I had like a good couple buddies that were like very talented at improv and like acting, but then like, you know, a lot of their friends would kind of like make fun of them and shit like that, and I was just always the goofy kid, so it was like natural for me. So like people would be like, oh yeah, this guy belongs in drama class, but a lot of my other friends that were gifted in the arts got really self-conscious because they were into sports or they were into like other things, and I was a bit of like the day walker, where it'd be like I'd be doing improv and theater, but then I'd also be doing like soccer and football and like wrestling and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people that could have been like very talented in the arts kind of
went the other way.
Yeah, let that affect them. So
you see, it's nice to hear someone like you say stuff like this, because for me, so originally I spent most of my time on the west side of the city.
Yeah.
I just recently moved up here.
Okay.
And people always make the north side sound like it's the south of Chicago. It's just like a war zone up here.
No, it's not. Like there's pockets, right? But it's also like, but that's always like the north side versus south side kind of like thing, or like West End thinks they're like a little bit like whatever, but I don't know. I think it's just because like there is that like 118th or that Abbotsfield and kind of like a little bit of like rough Clairview parts, but like majority of it, it's like no one's like, let's be realistic, it's nothing like crazy.
Yeah. No, because it was one of those, like in high school, I would just I hate how I was in high school, how if 2 or 3 people would tell me the same thing, I just go off what they say until I go do it myself.
Yeah.
And then when I'd start coming up here, I'd be like, what are these guys talking about? Like, yeah, there's bums here and there, but that's everywhere.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How do you avoid them?
Yeah, I think it's just a stigma of like, I don't know, just north side kind of like grimy, but there is like a difference you can tell where it's like,
for sure.
Yeah, there's a little bit more grit up here for sure.
Now, how does one go from drama to comedy? You know what I'm saying? How does that correlate?
I was always doing like improv, right? So it was like that was like my thing. And then I'd be doing like opening monologues for like in class and stuff. So every Friday we would have like our theater sports. So like we would go onto the PA system and then do like little fun skits kind of, and then I'd be doing like opening monologues and then getting the team together and then be doing our performance. But there was like one year where kind of like I just guess like culture kind of shifted or whatever within like our drama program, and I wasn't really having too much fun in it. And then but my teacher saw that I was enjoying my single scenes like in my monologues and like had a little gift for gab and that thing, so she kind of pushed me into a way of being like, oh, have you like seen stand up? And I was like, oh no, like I've seen it on TV obviously. She's like, I think you'd be good at like stand up comedy. And then her and her husband bought me tickets to go see Richard Lewis at the comic strip.
Oh,
yeah. And then so
she really saw something in you.
Oh yeah, Miss Schwartz, shout out to her. Yeah, so then her and her husband brought me to go see Richard Lewis at the strip one day, and then I was like, well, shit, I can do this. And then I found out you had to be like 18 to go and do it in like bars and stuff. So then as soon as I turned 18, it was like halfway through grade 12, I would just be going out every night to like comedy nights and like doing that kind of stuff. And then it was just kind of I always gravitated towards it, but it was the push from my drama teacher that kind of made me be like, oh shit, okay, oh, there's this. And then obviously seeing like the career path in it and being like, okay.
Does she know that? Does Miss Schwartz know that?
Oh yeah, man. I always credit her every time I get a chance to, so.
Holy, no way.
Yeah.
So now you said around the age of 18. As soon as you turned 18, you started going to the bars to watch the shows.
Yeah, and like participate in them and stuff like that. Yeah.
Now, what was that like at the age of 18? Because I'm assuming, let's say 3-4 years prior, you thought maybe you'd get into like engineer or oil rigs.
Yeah, no, I always knew I wasn't gonna do like trades though. I always kind of knew.
Even being born and raised here.
Yeah, like before, like I even got into stand up, I knew I was gonna go to like either theater school or I'd go and do like acting and stuff like that. Like I knew I was either gonna move to Toronto and perform out there or like go to Vancouver and stuff, or I had like a path of me being like, okay, maybe I'll go get my BFA, like my Bachelor in Fine Arts, and then professional acting and stuff like that, and then maybe become like a teacher or something like that. So that was kind of always that. I always saw the people that were doing the trades, and I was like, I never wanted to be like kind of like that environment.
Hell no.
Yeah, like no. I've always had an artistic thing, but yeah, I don't know. It was fun to me. It was cool because it was like all my friends would be going out getting drunk or like partying and stuff like that, and then to me it was like, oh, what's Danny doing? And then I was doing this own little like secret kind of like, no, I'm doing comedy out here and like hanging out, and then seeing like obviously some guys like Edmonton had such a the comic strip is a beautiful place, like especially for starting comedy here, right? Because it's like if you have the acts that aren't playing the Jubilee or the Windspear or playing like the arena, they're playing the comic strip. So it's like I got to see Bert Kreischer before he like massively blew up. Yeah, I got to open for Harlan Williams. I got to see like Bobcat Goldthwait, Hannibal Buress, like all these big acts of today. I got to see them when they were like just kind of like starting to headline clubs and shit, and like the comic strip would always be like they gave TJ Miller his first headline weekend, so even when he was doing like massive like venues or like big movies and he could have came back and did like the theaters like the Windspear or whatever, he would always come back to the club. So it was like you got to see these things, and as a young kid you're like picking their brain or like seeing like the cool tricks of the trade and the crafts and stuff like that. So it was like it was just a cool place to kind of be at. And I always loved drama class, so I'd be like, it was like a little after school like thing, but it mattered more. Yeah. So it was like, it was cool like that. And then you were like, I don't know, it's just funny being like an 18-year-old kid trying to make like 20 to 30 something year olds laugh, and then you were like you had to figure it out. But the first like shit, dude, I don't know, first like 3 years was definitely like
difficult.
Yeah, like if I didn't quit, like, you know what I mean? Like if I could make it through those 3 years of the Formidable, like finding like at least my initial voice on how to convey like humor of my point of view to the world of like older people, then I was like, okay, I got something.
See, that's what I was thinking. I was gonna ask you, as an 18-year-old starting out, when you start at the age of 18, or your first shows at 18.
Yeah.
How do your jokes hit an older crowd?
Oh,
like, how do you know how to hit?
They didn't. It would be like a lot of these people would be like, "What the fuck am I gonna like? Who gives a shit what this 18-year-old's talking about?"
Yeah.
And I was talking about stupid stuff too. I think I had like my biggest joke when I was young was like, if you were to, like, somebody said fuck a duck, so if you were to fuck a duck, like, what would it be like? And I'm like doing this act out of me like trying to deep throat my dick to an albatross and like all this shit. And this guy's like, I got a mortgage payment and 2 kids, like, what the fuck's going on, you know? Like, tell me about some shit that I can relate to. And I'm like, you ever stand up in a stand-up tanning bed and just want to start dancing? Like, and people are like, what the fuck is this? But then like, but I was also so high energy, so I'm like screaming, yelling, doing all these act outs, and it's like, what, like if I could look back at some tapes when I first started, I'd be like, oh man,
you couldn't
like,
watch
this
it.
is brutal. And then so no wonder I would bomb. Like, everybody asks me like, oh, what was your first like year or two like? And it was like consistent bombing. It was like, if I was going to do 7 shows a week, I'd probably say one of them was enough to be like, oh, okay, I have something here.
Yeah.
But then the rest would just be like people like saying I suck, or like not laughing, or like.
So explain to me the duck fucking one.
I don't even care. It was just literally like I heard somebody saying like fuck a duck, and then I go through like all the animals of like what I would fuck, like a duck, a goose, like a sparrow, and I'm like talking about if I fucked a sparrow, it would explode on my dick, and then like I do this act out of me like basically doggy styling a Canadian goose, and I'm like holding its neck, but it's the microphone stand, and I'm like running around.
So
like,
how tough was the crowd? Because I like, you know, I feel like it for me. It all depends. It all depends where you're at. Because sometimes jokes can hit the same place they would hit. You say it somewhere else, it's just the worst thing you could have ever said.
Oh well, it was just like consistent, like across the board, like what the fuck's going on, until I started like doing shows that were like at a younger crowd or whatever. Like when I went out to Toronto and I was like in school there, it was like, okay, now it was like we were throwing shows for like residence kids and like the kids that were like in like our program, or like people my age. And then it was like, oh, okay, they kind of found that funny, and then I could kind of do jokes towards them and shit. But if it was like I was going to a bar, or if I'm going to like a club, there was like that disconnect because the age gap was so different. But then also like the point of view and like the things that others could relate to. It was like, what can an 18-year-old relate to a 34-year-old about? You know what I mean? Like, to you, you're still a baby. If you look at it, it's like a grade 6er trying to hang out with a grade 12er. You know, like there's no, like, what are we gonna do?
There's no connection.
We're gonna talk about Pokemon cards and like how I used to collect them. Cool. Like, I'm also trying to talk about how I'm trying to get laid. you know, so there's like that different gap. But it was like it was good though, because then it forced me to be like, okay, well, let's figure out where the maturity level is, but also what can I kind of maybe bring these guys into a nostalgic relationship with me, where it's like, oh, okay, they could remember their youth of an 18-year-old, or like what the plights were of like trying to fit into a social circle, or like making new friends and stuff like that. So like it kind of like grows with me. But I'm just like an 18-year-old improv kid coming out being like, being silly, but then also vulgar, and they're like, what's going on here?
They're just confused.
Yeah.
I always think to myself as it's so easy, especially in today's day. It's so easy to get canceled. You know what I'm saying? And being a comedian, most of 90% of the time, you're saying wild stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How do comedians kind of like swerve around the cancel culture?
Well, I think it's like it's different now because the pendulum's kind of swinging back. But I feel like if there's humor to it and a craft and a tact, then usually generally the crowd will like be, unless you're doing like crazy outlandish shit and like making jokes of obscenities that have no point of view or no sense of humor to it, then it's like whatever. But it's also like, I don't know, I don't really think like yeah, cancel culture is kind of relevant in a sense, but I feel like now it's kind of like we're over it almost. Like everybody now is like, take it fucking easy, it's just a joke. Because like I don't know, a lot of people forget that like our position as comedians or whatever, if you look back at like the old days, what a comedian was like he was the court jester or whatever, right? So the king would bring him in, and he would say all the things that the people would want to say, the town to the king, but he couldn't. But then if it was funny and the king had a sense of humor, then he would live. But if he ever said something that stepped over the boundaries of the line, then he would just die. The king would kill him. So it's like we have to have that sense of like, hey, we all know what's going on, and I'm gonna say what we're all thinking. And if I have to be the one that like takes the bullet, then so be it. But I think right now, like, it's a full kind of swing back where the mature people think so. I mean, you could get like the internet on an uproar, and then you're kind of fucked. But then you have like, it's the internet, right? You have thousands of people that can like be like, cancel, do all this, and then a venue would be like, hey, well, I don't want to deal with the shit that's coming here. Like, so I have some buddies that like had the rug pulled from under them on like shows and stuff, but it was also like, okay, well, you knew what you were doing and you were poking the bear, so why are you gonna cry? When you knew you were gonna get in shit for what you did.
See, I always think about stuff like that. Like, there's been a few shows, maybe there'd be some guys that I'd watch. They say a joke, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's funny, but how the hell is the rest of the world gonna react to this when it makes its way to other platforms like the Shade Room, World Star, whatever the case may be? Because to me, I find we're in a time and place where everybody is sensitive to something. And then if one person finds a group of people to be sensitive to something, even though if they're not, they might just want to join the group and be like, oh, they find it offensive, I'm going to just hop on the bandwagon and find it offensive too.
Yeah, 100%. But then that's like whatever. At that point, what can you do, right? There's nothing you can do at that point besides apologize or whatever. But then it's also like, what are you going to apologize for?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Because I'm a firm believer in, if you wasn't sorry when you said it, why should you be sorry now? Because you have, I mean, I get it, it's hard to stand by yourself, but you gotta stand 10 toes on the things you say.
Yeah.
Because now if you're getting the people to kind of make you reverse everything and wish you didn't say it, now it's like, what's the point of doing what you do?
Yeah.
If you're gonna kind of say sorry about it later on.
Yeah, and some people can take it out of context too, or like they can hear the words and then be like, oh, they don't know, like, you know, they don't see what they're saying. Like, I've had some jokes that are like, you know, line walkers, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'm making fun of this, and you think I'm making fun of this, but all you did was listen to the setup, and you didn't realize where the punchline's coming from and who I'm punching up to. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, it is what it is, and like like everybody has an opinion, but everyone's opinion doesn't matter. That's the part that people don't remember. Is like, yeah, you can say what you want, but like at the end of the day, like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. And neither do other people. So like, boo hoo who, you know? Yeah, like, yeah. Who made you the person that is the all judge, be all judge, executioner, and jury? Like, who gives a fuck about you? You work at Enterprise Car Rentals Monday through Wednesday, and you're fucking 46-year-old with no man. You know, like, what are we doing here?
That sounds personal. That sounds like you ran into someone like that.
Well, no, but like typically it would be like, you know, like, or just some loser. You know, yeah. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, yeah, sure. You have your pronouns in your email at the end. Like, who gives a fuck? You know, like,
when I see shit like that, the pronouns in the email, right then and there, I know what type of person I'm dealing with.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now you got to be politically correct with everything you say.
Just blanket them with they them. That's all.
And even that, like, you saying they them, like, depending on who you're talking to. Oh, why would you call me they? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I've dealt with people where I really have to walk on eggshells with how I talk.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's annoying because why am I contemplating every single word that's about to come out of my mouth? Yeah. Not knowing how you're going to react to it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, it is true. But it's also like when it comes to the comedy rooms like that, it's fun because it's like a exercise almost, where it's like, okay, well, let me watch what I say, let me all do this, and then I'll get them in, and then they like me, and then it's also like, little do you know, like, I'm a fucking wolf in sheep's clothing in this room, baby. Fucking, you don't want to hear my locker room talk.
What was the joke or the skit, however you want to word it? What was it that got you put on? And by put on, I mean like it got like more eyes on you. Was it at a certain, well, of course, at a certain spot, but do you remember what the setup was, what the joke, where it was?
Like, in what sense? Like, what joke kind of, like...
Got more people to, like, okay, this guy's actually kind of funny. Let me tell my friends about him. Let me do this. Let me do.
I'd probably say like a couple things. Like I don't know. Like I haven't really had too many jokes go like viral or whatever on like internet or whatever. I'd probably say like this Kill Tony is probably like the biggest thing that's been like, oh, this guy, who's this guy kind of thing. But I'd say like, I don't know, just like. I'd probably say like around like the 10 years, that's when I kind of was like more comfortable with myself and like being like, oh, okay. And then I would see from like my peers as well as other people being like, oh shit, okay, like this guy is battle tested. Like kind of thing like that. But I would say like I have a couple maybe jokes, but nothing that's like crazy, like viral and shit. Mm-hmm. Like the biggest thing I have on my internet right now is me farting into an air purifier and smelling it.
Yeah.
Like, which is fucking crazy, dude. I moved to New York and I farted in an air purifier and it gets fucking 13 million views. Oh, and then I'm like, this is what I spent my fucking 10 grand on a visa for. And then I put hard crafted jokes up and they just tank. So it's like, it's weird though, but like, I don't know, man. I'd say probably, yeah, like the appearance on Kill Tony was probably the first thing like that's been like, okay, here's who is this guy?
You see, that's the thing about the internet. The things you expect to hit and go crazy, it usually doesn't. But the things you don't expect to do anything is the one that skyrockets, does the craziest amount of numbers.
Oh yeah, it was funny. Like I was like sitting with my roommate. I was like, yo man, I should fart in this air purifier and smell it. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's do it real quick. And when I just did it, it was like literally like a 7-second video. And then I just posted it. And then I go to sleep and I wake up and it's like 750,000. I'm like, buddy, dude, this is going to the moon, dude. But then I was like, oh fucking. But it's funny how the mind works. Because you're like, oh, I got to be fart video guy now. And then I do like 4 or 5 more. And then they just like 4,000. 5,000. And then even my buddies were like, fuck dude, like what, are you okay out there? And I'm like, the farts are funny. And I'm like sitting at home stressing, being like, why aren't they hitting? And then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I moved to New York to be fart purifier. Like, let's be real.
You see, that's the thing. When you go viral on for a lot of people, they're known as that.
Oh yeah.
Forever. Like, imagine you're going to a deli or whatever and you're the guy that farted
you farted in the air purifier. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? You want a picture? Like but so then it was like kind of thing like that. But then it's also like you learn, right? Where you're just like, oh, what am I fucking doing here? Like, you know, what am I chasing the clout of the fucking air purifier thing? But it was like, so yeah, like I don't know. It's weird what hits and what doesn't.
What do your parents say when they see you farting in air purifier?
They just shake their head. But they like I don't know. Like I've always been who I am. Like my parents are super supportive, right? Where it's like when I told my dad I was going into comedy, he's like, well, what about acting? And then like that's the kind of thing. Or like my grandma was a thespian like growing up, and so she was always doing plays. And my mom's funny, and she was like a painter and an artist too. So it's like. They're okay with that, but some of the stuff they like shake their head and they're like, Daniel, like, what are you doing? Or like I'll have a video and they'll be like, don't swear so much. Or like one video I got where it's like me and my buddy Jared, another one that kind of went like a little viral was we're like joking about like my dad cleaning my foreskin with his tongue while he's teaching me and shit, like outlandish shit, right? Or like me, or like just us doing dumb shit about like a teacher fucking me in the ass with the janitor or whatever, and they like go crazy. My mom's like, Daniel, like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's for the people, Mom. She's like, I get it, it's funny, but like.
Now the thing about that is like a lot of guys like. We have that sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's just obviously a lot of people have personas that they got to keep up.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys like to act tough. But behind closed doors, I could tell you 13 guys right now that have that type of sense of humor. But you would never assume so just from how they look.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's like when you're out in a show or whatever and like you want to be like, you know, you're with your girlfriend or whatever, and then there's a joke that's like super funny, and you're like, oh, if I laugh at this, she's probably not gonna suck my dick tonight, you know? Like, so you like chill, but then deep down, you like when she goes to the washroom, you're fucking slapping the table,
she's going
when
crazy.
She comes back, you're like, meh, 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 meh. So it's like, but we all kind of like have that like. I don't know, like sense of humor for sure.
Oh, for sure. I had a friend of mine, a coworker, about 2 years ago. He went to a comedy show that we had that was in West Edmonton Mall, and the host was talking about like difference between men and women.
Yeah.
Why men are better than women, just stuff like that. And he was telling me he was afraid to laugh at it because his girl don't play about that type of shit.
Oh yeah.
But of course, like you just said, when she was gone and he was with his guys, dying.
Oh yeah,
just
when
dying.
I see that, I call them out. I love it because they're like, "Oh,
you put them on the spot,"
and then the girl's like, "You want to laugh at that?" And I'm like, "Look at that, buddy." I'm like, "Fucking be yourself, bro."
No way.
Yeah.
You see, but
I also, it's like I'll change for my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
We all do. At the end of the day, a dude's a dude, right? But
there's certain things you say in front of the homies that you would never even think about saying in front of your lady.
Like, yeah, for sure. Or like I'll be chilling with my girlfriend and then she says something and then I kind of like laugh and think of like a joke and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. It's all good."
Just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, but then as soon as I leave the house, I'm like, "Oh, boys, look at this." Like, yeah, that's funny. I'm like, yeah. But
now, you've been back and forth the U.S. and Canada. You know what I'm saying? And what, like show wise, what are some of the biggest difference between the crowds in the States and the crowds over here?
I'd probably say like the only difference is like the crowds. Like what I can say is like in America you have like a massive amount of freedom of speech almost in a sense. So it's just like the crowds there like, "Holy fuck, that guy's saying that," while the crowds here are like, "Oh my god, can I hear that?"
Damn.
Like, you know, where they're just like, "I don't know," like, "Oh no, oh." Kind of like that kind of stuff.
So the crowds here are softer.
No, I would say the crowds here are like kind of like maybe in a sense, but it's also like
it's okay to say softer.
Yeah, more like kind of. Yeah, I guess so in a sense like that. But also, it's like here, it's like they want to see like tact. You know, like they want to see like, okay, is that crafted good? Is that like nice? Is that like, where's the joke? While out there, it's like they're like, "Fuck it, man, just give us whatever you want.
Let's go crazy."
Yeah. But it's also like, I don't know, it's kind of different because it's like here I'm normal or I'm Albertan or whatever kind of there, and it's like over there I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
So there I'm already something that they're like, "Oh, fucking, what's going on? This guy's so Canadian. Like, what's going on?" Right? So
you see, I think. My fault to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
I the way I think about it is, Canada is a place where you could be 20 feet away. Someone will hold the door open for you. Wait for you to walk through the door. Versus over there where everyone's just like, it's a free for all.
Yeah.
So I feel like the mentality is different. So obviously the jokes are gonna hit different.
Yeah, and I feel like I just feel like Canadians generally as a person have like a very high sense of humor. Like whether it's the guy at your job site or like from hockey, everybody's got a chirp. Everybody's got like they're quick-witted. And like humor is one of our biggest exports as a people and as a nation. So it's like I find sometimes like it's almost harder to make somebody laugh because they're like, "Oh, all my buddies are funny," kind of out here.
Yeah.
And we're like so rich in just our history of humor almost.
You see, I always think about that, and me, I'm a type of guy where, let's say if I was to try anything like that, I'd be the type like I'd go in too hard. And what I mean by that is if I find someone's taking the joke offensively, you'd be my only target. For the rest of the show, I'm damn near bullying you at that point. So that's why I don't have the patience for all that.
But then the audience is like, okay, you know what I mean? Like you have to make it like a sense of like a community almost. Or like you can't be too harsh on a person because then they're like, "Whoa, man." Like,
they're going to start throwing shit at you or
like,
something.
Take it easy, bro, right?
Yeah.
But there's like a fine kind of line where it's like you can kind of like hammer people and stuff for sure.
I was on your page. Your IG. Was it your IG? I'm pretty sure it was about a month ago. And I had people saying, I don't know if it was Americans, but people were saying, "Hey, I went to Alberta a few times. He's forcing the accent.
Yeah.
It can't be real." And I commented, I was like, it may be a little stretch, but I work with guys, went to school with guys, and I know guys, literally neighbors that sound exactly like him.
Oh, yeah.
And these are outsiders saying like, "Yo, I've never heard of Albertans sound like this." And I'm telling y'all, people sound like this out here.
100%.
Especially the country boys, like the guys out from Morinville, outside Sherwood Park. These guys really sound like this.
Oh yeah, but I was even like that when I moved to Toronto. Everyone's like, "Holy fuck, you sound like super Canadian." I'm like, "I don't sound like that. I don't sound like that, man. Like I don't got an accent. I don't got an accent." So it's like it's funny where me too, I'm like laughing. Like people are even like commenting. They're like, "This guy's not from Edmonton. He's from Ontario." Like
that's what I was seeing.
Shit. And I'm just like, what? Like to me, it's like funny because it's a lot of people. Like, I don't know what it is about the accent. I don't know if it's because of Letterkenny or, like, other shows and shit that people are like, "Oh, that's, like, hammed up. Oh, that's, like, an accent. Like, we don't talk like that." But it's, like, we do. And like obviously there's certain times where it's just like if I'm excited or I like have some drinks or some shit, it comes out thicker.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it to me it's like funny because I was that person being like, we don't sound like that, like fuck you guys, like you're a loser, we don't have that thing. And then you like listen to people and you're like, yeah.
You see, the thing is, to me at least, what I think, I'm thinking that people are assuming or expecting that Toronto accent. You know, so when they don't hear it, they're like, oh, that accent isn't real, or he's stretching it. Do you know what I mean when I say the Toronto accent? Yeah. I feel like that's what they're expecting. So now when they hear that, when they hear like the out west accent, the Alberta accent, they're like, okay, nah, he's stretching it. This got to be from over here. And the funniest thing to me is these are always outsiders.
Yeah.
These are always guys, for the most part, guys that aren't from here. And for the ones that are from here, I see them saying he's stretching it. And, bro, I'm just like, man, y'all probably haven't done trades or
it's like you got a guy from BC saying, but because it's like they like on the internet they'll be like, oh, Canadians, so then immediately they're like, oh, all Canadians don't sound like that, we don't sound like that. But it's like a massive difference between a Western Prairie accent to like your BC accent or your rural Ontario accent or your Newfoundland and Maritime accent. So it's like you have like 4 or 5 different like accents throughout the whole country, and then when someone says like, oh, this guy's Canadian, oh, he's so Canadian, then they're like, all Canadians don't sound like that. And it's we don't, but a dude from Alberta does.
You see, it's funny too, because a few months ago I was traveling. Every week I went somewhere different. I was in Portland. Where was I? Portland, Texas, Florida, and Jamaica. And all the states that I went to, everyone said I sound like I was from the UK.
Yeah.
The Canadian accent sounded like it was from the UK.
Oh yeah.
I had a guy, we're going back and forth. You're from the UK. No, I'm from Canada. No, you're from. He's telling me where I'm from.
Yeah.
We're going back and forth. But it's just, I guess to Americans, they don't. To them, you're either Toronto or from the UK.
Yeah.
And to like
a lot of people have been asking what part of Ireland I'm from. Like out there, they're like, "Oh, that's an Irish accent." I'm like, "What?
What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I learned. Perspective is everything. Mm-hmm. To you obviously you don't hear it, and when you run into another Edmontonian, you definitely don't hear it because to you it's the norm.
Yeah.
But when someone from LA or New York hears it, it's the first thing they hear it, and it's the biggest difference between you two.
Oh yeah.
You know, which is crazy, but perspective.
But then it's also like you have so many different accents throughout America too. You got the New York one, you got the Midwest one, you got Florida accent. You also have like a Texas or Southern one or Oklahoma and all that. So it's like, to me, it's just funny where it's like, yeah, if you're the 3rd biggest country in the world, like landmass wise, you're gonna have different accents
for sure. But that's the thing with the funny thing about Americans to me. When they hear somebody else from a different state, they could point it out where you're from.
Yeah.
Let them hear a Canadian, they don't know where the hell you're from.
Oh, yeah.
It's because they only know of each other.
Yeah.
And for us, lucky for us, we got to learn about everywhere else while in school. But the States, I swear they only learn about the States.
100% they do.
And, I mean, I guess I would know, too, because I didn't know much about Canada until I came up here. So I could kind of see where the ignorance come from.
Oh yeah.
In that type of world.
Yeah, but it's just funny to me now. Where it's just like, I just enjoy watching the internet go like ape shit and have such a divide over my accent and where I'm from.
Crazy. And then you're here telling them where you're from, and they're telling you no, you're not.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, sweet. Yeah.
You know me more than me.
My dad's like, you should take a picture of your birth certificate for these fucking losers. And then I'm like, yeah, I guess.
At that point, I just let it go. Let it run.
I don't. I just like laugh at it, and it's humorous to me because it's like, I just remember when I was like that when I moved to Ontario, and I was like, I don't have an accent. So I'm just looking at these guys being like, you don't know yet.
Yeah. I see you got to, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, you got to host for Adrian Fish. Adrian Fish. How'd that go? How was all that?
Oh, I like Fish. I've known her for like many years, right? So she's just we're friends and stuff from like from Toronto scene and stuff. And then I was here back for a little bit of a couple shows and stuff, and just was working. I asked out Yuck Yucks. I said, "Oh, who's headlining this week?" And she said Adrian Fish, and I said, "Bark me down for a host." So it's always a blast with Fish on her shows.
It was nice.
Yeah.
So what's the feeling like when you get to do shows back at home? Are you more comfortable?
I like it. Yeah, it's like to me, it's almost like you're playing Pokemon and you go back to Pallet Town and you're just playing with level 3 fishies and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Or not fishies, Pidgeys, and Ratatatas. But it's also like, to me, it's like super fun where I'm just like, it's a good crowd. They're awesome. It's good. Like Edmonton has a very high art scene, so a lot of people think it's just like Rig Pig City and stuff, and it is a blue collar town, but it's very high on the arts. So it's like you have the people that you know, blue collar working tradespeople, but then they also enjoy coming out and seeing like comedy.
Yeah.
And I think Edmonton has one of the best comedy scenes in Canada.
Sheesh, okay.
Yeah.
You think Edmonton it's like home court advantage. You think Edmonton treats you different because you're from here, or do you think or if it's not funny, they'll do you like any other place, then they wouldn't laugh at it?
They do, like, some rooms I can get away with things where I know they're not funny, but they're just happy to see me.
Yeah.
So it's like those kind of things. But I would say, like, generally, yeah, they're honest. They're honest crowds where if something's not funny, they won't laugh or they'll let you know.
Yeah.
Thing like that. But I just like it where it's like, I don't know, like sometimes where I get like kind of tripped up or emotional in a sense where I'm like, holy fuck, like I remember 15 years ago where I was just like a kid, you know, from Edmonton being like, oh, what can I do? Like, oh, let's go out and do like comedy and stuff. And then it like puts me back in a nostalgic state where I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go grind, or let's go with these rooms and stuff that we always did. But then there's other times where I'm like, okay, like I got fucking, why did I come out tonight? I didn't need to come out tonight, you know? Like,
yeah.
I could have just enjoyed time with my family and friends, or like caught up with people I haven't seen in a while. But majority of it, it's like I truly do, like, even no matter like what level of success that I'll attain in the future, I think I'll always come back and do like a spot at the Moon or a Tuesday night at the Strip, or like go out and do like a Wednesday at Mackie, or hop over to Underdog and stuff like that. So like, but I think that's just who I am as like a person, a comedian. Yeah.
How'd you end up on? I always butcher it. Comedy curated.
Comedy curated.
Curated. I always fuck up the name, but
no, I just did like my Kill Tony, and then they reached out and said, "Hey, can we chop up a couple of videos for you?" And I said, "Yeah, man, for sure."
Jeez.
So yeah, and then those are the ones that kind of went crazy, and then right now like Splice Comedy and stuff's got it going, some clips going and stuff like that. But yeah, just generally the internet kind of like sees it, and then they have their comedy pages, and then they just say, "Yo, you're funny, can we put your video up on our page?"
Oh, they ask you before they do. I'm used to hearing like they just take it and they like watermarked it.
But Comedy Curated reached out to me, and then other ones fucking they'll just take it and not even credit you, and then your buddies send it to you, and you're like, oh fuck, and then you gotta like
go through the process.
Well, yeah, and be like, oh, credit would have been nice, thanks, man. And then they're like, oh, sorry.
And by the time they give you the credit, the video's been out already for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and
and then you're like, oh, sweet. So the initial like bump of followers I don't get, or people you can go through and say, who is this guy? Like all this stuff, right? But like generally, it's like the good pages will reach out to you and say, hey, can we put this on?
For sure.
Like I had a good like. A bunch of pages steal my fart video.
And they didn't credit you?
Yeah, no one credit, nothing. Of course and I'm like, oh, fuck, man. Yeah, here's my handle, you pieces of shit. You know, and I'm on like 13 different fart pages that have like 400,000
There's dedicated
followers.
Fart pages?
Oh, yeah, man.
What
they all came out of the woodwork, pushing gas, all this stuff, dude.
See, now, from what I can see and what I can hear, you're always on the go. You got something going on. You're always on the move.
Yeah.
How's your mental? You know what I'm saying? Because you're flying, you're trying to interact with the crowd. You might have to deal with a heckler, parents on this side, your lady on the other, friends.
Yeah. It's like generally it's like good. Like don't get me wrong. Like some days I feel like dampened by what's going on just in my personal lives, or like the stress of kind of traveling, or being like, oh fuck, I haven't had my bed in 3 weeks, kind of things like that. But I don't know. I just generally like. I'm usually kind of like a guy that hovers around a 7.5, like naturally. Like I'm a pretty like normal, happy-go-lucky guy. But then it's also like I kind of like whenever things are down, or I look at problems. Like obviously you're always gonna have some kind of issue that's gonna bother you. But then you look at it and say, okay, well, you know, you look at all the blessings you've kind of have and like how grateful you can be for these things and realize like, oh, my problems aren't as severe. Like I have food, I have a shelter over my head, I have loved ones I can call. Yeah, sure, okay, maybe my girlfriend's bothered me, but what did I do to bother her to cause her to get pissed off? You know, so I always kind of like look at these things, or if I'm having like, you know, a bad day, I'll have like my group of like friends, or I'll call my mom, or I'll like read a book or journal, or I'll go for a long walk.
See, I think about those type of things where so what it sounds like, it seems like you're the optimistic type.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I feel like that could be a good thing and that could be a downfall too, because on days you don't feel like being optimistic, that's when everybody, what's wrong, Danny? What's wrong? What's this? What's that? And then you just want some alone time, but people are so used to you talking that the one day you decide not to, you're annoyed. You're basically flustered. Everybody's just on your ass about everything.
Yeah. Those days, it's like, I don't know, like, but I always, like, I'm fortunate enough, when I came up in my theater, we had this sign that was above the door when you walked in, and it said, like, no matter what you have going on, leave your shit at the door. So I've always had that thing where it's like, okay, well, I have a performance to do right now. Nobody gives a fuck about the other things. And what matters the most right now in this time is those people in those seats. Nobody cares what's going on right now. Like, obviously, like, some things could affect my energy level and my output. But it's like, okay, well, for this allotted time that I have to go and do what I have to do, just shut up, put your smile on, go do your song and dance, and then deal with it after.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, at the end of the day, people came here for a release or an escape of their fucking shit. I don't need to put my stuff onto their plate too, right? Like, so there's that. But there are some days where I'm just like, yeah, man, like, you know, I'm not really, you know, like, leave me alone kind of things. But then on those days, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just suck it all up until I have a day where I can just play Xbox for 18 hours or like not give a fuck or do anything. But then it's like that kind of shit, I feel like. You
see, I always think about that type of shit. Like, just imagine you're having a rough day, but you got to be in New York in like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Now you're flying, and then as soon as you land, you get picked up. So you don't even have time to be yourself.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just learning how to navigate through all of that.
Yeah, that and like kind of like finding your fortress of solitude almost in a sense, where it's like, even if it's not like a physical place, you can kind of mentally put yourself in there and then be like, okay, let's align ourselves a little bit better here and let's kind of like do that. But then you also got to count it. It's like, okay, well, what is your issues? Oh, I have 4 hours of sleep because I have to go to New York and go on this plane. It's not like I'm fucking getting my hand held out while a guy has a machete asking if I want a long sleeve or a short sleeve. Like, what is my what's my issue here? You know, like there's fucking way worse problems to have, kind of things like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like, I'm grateful, and like, you know, I could be in a lot worse position. I could not be hopping on this plane, or I could not be doing this show. I could be going into a work at a car dealership. I could be going back on my 21st day straight on a 28-day hitch.
Sheesh.
Like, so there's a lot of other things. But that being said, it's like, yeah, some days I'm affected and my energy levels will be lower.
Yeah.
But if I hit the stage or I got to do it, it's like, okay, well, we bring them back up here. And that's easier said than done. Like, some days I am off, but I know it, but some people don't.
Yeah.
So...
See, I mean, it looks like you're handling it well, at least, because no long-lasting effects or anything of that nature, which is good.
Well, and it's like, I don't know, I kind of do these things to kind of like keep my thing. Like, I used to drink. I don't drink anymore. That's helped. Like, well, if I'm feeling super stressed out, it's like, whatever, I'll eat an edible and melt onto a couch, or I'll like watch TV, or I'll do something, or like read or write, or I've started journaling a lot more, which has helped too. So there's like, I don't know, I think there's things you can do
for sure
to manage it. But you'll always have a day that feels like life's kicking you in the nuts.
What's it called? My last few questions here, and I like that you said all that, because there's a lot of people that just assume like everything's just picture perfect. You're not running into anything. You know what I'm saying? It's good that you break it down like that, because it's showing that like everyone goes through something.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of people just don't. Some show it some don't.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are always going through things behind closed doors. And to me, it's not what you go through, it's how you handle it.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone goes through shit, but how do you handle it?
Yeah.
Some people will let that define them. Others will define it.
Oh,
if
yeah.
that
And
makes
that's
sense.
why it's like whenever I see someone that's kind of like I'll always treat somebody the way that I meet them where I meet them. You know what I mean? Like if they're kind of like, oh, if they're struggling or if they're having a bad day or if they're kind of a prick or like even sometimes like online comments, I'll be like, oh, okay, like maybe this guy's going through something or like, you know, that's the only kind of release he has or she has is like by spitting out hate or doing some kind of thing. But it's like everybody's always kind of, you're right, going through something or
For sure.
or you know or maybe I don't feel like I should be nice to this person or they're a little bit like, you know, like I'm feeling like a prick and this person comes to me for like say a picture or advice or some kind of thing, and then it's like, okay, well, you know, maybe this is their moment of like, oh, I'm gonna ask this person this, or maybe I'll get some information, or they look at me at a higher standard.
Yeah.
And then so I gotta kind of be like, oh, you know, nice to them or like cordial or kind or kind of thing like that. But I don't know. I think we're all humans and we're all interesting and intricate kind of beings, and there's always something going on. You never know what's going on in the head.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
My last few questions for you. This one, I was going through your page the other day and I saw this. So on your podcast account, on the Dude Buddy Pod, you know what I'm saying? I see you're only following one person.
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney.
That's our girl, baby.
Talk to me. What was that your idea? Was that the other guys?
Was like it was funny. It was kind of like a joint idea or whatever. But it was like Jared, my co-host, the other fellow comedian, was like, "Man, it'd be so funny if we just followed like Sydney Sweeney." I was like, "Oh yeah, man, let her guns show." And then so we were like, when we started the page, we're like, "Should we?" And we're like, "Fuck yeah, dude, let's just do that."
So what is that, like a celebrity crush or something?
No, yeah, a little bit, like from Euphoria and all that. But I think
yeah.
she's very pretty. But then also Jared has a crush on her, and I just think it's funny that if you come to a Dude Buddy podcast page and then the show's called Dude Buddy, and they're like, who are they following? And it's Sydney Sweeney and her fucking gigantic melons. You know, like, geez, feed me those honeydews, if you know what I mean.
What's like I said, I know you're always on the move. What's next? What you got going on?
Next, I don't know, when does this air?
Oh, the next few weeks,
okay.
I'd say.
Well, I guess I gotta go
before the new year.
Yeah, finish up this stint, and then I go back to New York for a week or two, and then I'm in Austin, and then I come back for the holidays, and then I do a New Year's show at Massey Hall in Toronto.
Yeah.
And then Ottawa at Laugh Lounge after that, and then back to Austin.
When's your next show here?
Next show here is today.
Today?
Yeah, we're going to do public access radio over in at the Moon tonight.
Okay.
At 8 p.m. It's like the Moon is like one of Edmonton's best gems. It's like a bit of a speakeasy kind of weed lounge. So yeah, you just get high, and then I'm gonna do this like talk show kind of thing. I don't know what they have me doing, but it's gonna be fun.
It's all on the spot.
Yeah, so they have their like questions, interviews. It's basically like a live podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then
because I was talking about like a stand up. When's your next stand up?
The next stand up would be, well, I have 2 corporate events. They're private events, so I'm in Lloydminster on the Friday, and then Saturday I'm here at like the Country Call Ballroom, and then Sunday I'll go back to the Moon and do some stand up.
Jeez, you're everywhere.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
That's
good. I try to prioritize family on this one, but you know what it is.
It's
I'm
hard.
an addict for the stage, dude. I got to get my fix.
Do you have any like routines that you do right before you get up on stage? Because I assume you still get nervous or butterflies
I do
in your
like
stomach.
my breathing exercises. I say my prayers, and then I talk to the muse, and then I have this little like kind of rock in my pocket that I always kind of have, and then I just touch that, and then take a couple deep breaths, and then go on.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Okay, well, you know what I'm saying? That's all I got to ask you. Is there any final things you want to say before I wrap it up?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. This was actually fun, and
yes,
I like how thorough you are with your research, and I like how some podcasts you just go on and you're shooting the shit and there's no organization. But I appreciate
they just
you
bullshit.
doing your homework. Yeah.
No, I appreciate. One thing I want to say to you is, one, I appreciate and I love everything you got going on, because
thanks, man.
you're showing that like a lot of people when they hear Edmonton, if they've ever heard of Edmonton,
Yeah.
it's oil, oil, oil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You come out here to work 18 hours a fucking day in a big ass coverall in the minus 88 weather.
Yeah.
And you, Alfonso, like all these, like making a name for the city.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate y'all for that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, I'm just one of many, man. There's tons of great artists that come from Edmonton, whether it's like sports or just everything, really, whether it's entertainment or agriculture or all that kind of stuff, man. Like, you know, you got the people before me. And we have a rich thing. Like, we filmed Second City TV out here, and I just think Edmonton produces a lot of good talent.
Definitely. For sure.
The city's awesome, man.
Because one thing I like to do whenever I'm interviewing people like from outside of here, when I travel elsewhere, I always buy like maybe an Edmonton Oilers shirt or a jersey. And if they're willing to, I get them to wear it. You know, I get them to wear it so people could start like putting pictures of
that's
faces on Edmonton.
Right there,
exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the name Charleston White?
Charleston White? No.
Oh, you never? But long story short, I tried to get him to wear it. He was not having it. But if I would have gotten him to wear, that would have been big.
Why? What hockey team is he then?
What? No, he's not a hockey guy at all.
Oh,
he's
he
not
just didn't want to wear it.
He just didn't want to wear. He didn't want to wear it. But of course, I got his manager to wear, but he didn't want to wear it. But whatever. Next guy. On to the next guy.
Just as long as you're trying to put that oil drop on him, it's all good. Or a little YEG somewhere.
Come on, but maybe next time. But one thing I want to say to you is, this is my first time having you on. Hopefully, it's definitely not the last.
Oh yeah, I'll come back.
I plan on having you again. I was thinking.
Only on one speculation, you get a second Xbox controller. You can't let that man be just watching you like a little brother.
Okay, deal. I was thinking about getting
couch co-ops down here.
I was thinking about getting I was waiting for GTA 6 to come out, and I was gonna get the newer Xbox, but yeah, I got you. If that's what it takes to get you on again, I got you.
Yeah, I ain't coming back. If I see an Xbox 360, man, I'm walking right back out, bro. I'll get a Series X or something.
Nah, I got you for sure. But once you come back from Austin, Texas, like once you finish all of that, whenever I see you're back in the city, I'm gonna hit you up and get you on in this time. Because this was getting to know you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The next time I have you on, now you're going to be talking about what you've been through, what's been going on since last time I had you on.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay. No, I love it. I love to hear it. You got any quick, jokes you want to throw out there? See if it'll hit?
Hey, this is where you make me tap dance at the end?
No, my very last question, my very last question. Let's say you have a show.
Yeah.
And the show is filled with guys that look like my friend and I here.
You mean black people?
filled with us urban kids.
An urban show?
Now let me. How do you?
Nubian Kings.
How do you attack that crowd? Because obviously we don't laugh at the same thing as.
No, let me tell you, dude. A table slap from a black guy is worth 10 white people laughs.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, I know so.
So if a black guy finds your jokes funny,
my favorite thing is, man, shit, you crazy for a white boy. That's my favorite. Man, you crazy.
Man, that reminds me of Gary Owens.
Yeah,
that's the type of shit Gary Owens would say. Like if a black guy's laughing at your shit, you know you're funny.
Yeah, no, but I was always I was one of the only kids like Sterling Scott would be doing shows, and he'd have like his dance hall parties or his Caribbean parties and stuff, and like I was only one of the only like kids that he would bring to do these shows and shit because I matched like the energy and stuff. So it was like I kind of like always, I don't know, enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like those kind of things. And I've never like, obviously you gotta like address it, but then even when I would be doing Nubian nights over in Toronto with Kenny Robinson's shows, it was like I was one of the only white guys that he would allow on.
Sheesh.
And then there's like a select few. Like now it's like kind of like lax a little bit but like it used to be like 100%, 230 black people in the room. And then you're going up there and you're like, holy fuck, like
shit.
It's sink or swim, you know?
Shit.
Like, the sweat comes quicker, but then like you have to be on and you have to be funny.
Gotta be on your A game.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, like you'd just be like, okay, well then what can I do? Well, what's my perspective as a white person going to a dance hall party and seeing like a DJ or like those kind of things, and also addressing it where it's like, Like I would always go up if it was. He's like, oh, this next guy coming stage is a little bit whiter than what we'd be used to. Bring Danny Martinello on, and then I'd go on and go, it's my time now.
Yeah.
I'm here, and like they'd be like, what the fuck, you know? Like, or I'd find a white person in the front row and fist bump him and be like, my brother, what's up? You know?
We're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, I like that.
So.
See, you always got to know how to address the crowd.
Oh yeah,
type of thing. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never been, but I feel like that's what it would be like.
But it's also just like social awareness, where it's just like, okay, what you're not going to address. You're the only white guy in the room, and like you're like, what are we doing here? You know, kind of thing. But even if it's like if you're bombing too in a regular room, it's like you have to address it. Like you can't just go and like, oh yeah, and then like what the fuck, man? Like
you got to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, or like what's going on? You know, like we're all in here. We all feel the energy. Like. Why are you gonna say it? Because I'm thinking it.
Yeah,
you know,
somebody's gotta say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. I would, just address what's going on and enjoy it. Like,
no, I like that.
Yeah.
Let the people know where they could find you.
You can find me on social media at Danny Martinello. That's Martinello. You can follow me at the Dude Buddy Podcast with Jared Campbell. You can also find me at the H&M at Londonderry Mall in Phase 2. I'll be there at 3 p.m. No, and then that's it. Yeah, socials are just Danny Martinello.
Yes, sir.
Find me on YouTube and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir. What else are you gonna be farting in?
I'm really trying to fart in my dad's mouth. Sleeps with his mouth open a little bit too much for me, Ernie. No, I don't know, man. I'll fart in anything. Really, truly. Air purifier, farting in a fan. I might fart in my brother's sleep apnea
So
mask.
you just like what your fart smells like, or what?
Well, no, everybody likes their own brew. Come on, now you ain't fart and stick your nose down your pants, like. I love it, man, to be honest. Sometimes I'll fart in the car and just lock the windows and stare at my buddy. Watch his eyes bleed.
Yo.
Yeah, and say, smell it with me.
But nah, for sure, I plan on having you on again.
Yeah, please. I'd come back.
Early New Year's, or again whenever you're back in the city from all your adventures you got going on. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
you know, I appreciate you.
I'll come back in spring. I got some things cooking up here, hopefully.
Say less.
So maybe we'll have some more exciting things.
And hopefully I'll have, because I should have at least like 6 trips planned by then, and you got your things to tell. I'll have my things to tell. Man.
We'll chop it up proper.
It'll go from an interview to a conversation.
Yeah, all right.
Easily.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your boy Convo with Marlo.
I'm Danny Martinello.
And I'm out.
Later.